The morning light crept through the tinted window of the small space apartment. Soft beeping from the hallway signaled it was past wake-up time. But James did not wake up because of the light. He woke up because something was wrong. Something. Heavy was pressing down on his chest. His eyes opened slowly, still foggy from sleep. The ceiling looked normal, a tease. The soft hum of the power grid was normal, but the weight on his chest wasn't. He blinked again and froze. Someone was on top of him. His eyes met hers. It was his new housekeeper, the alien girl, the one he had hired only 2 days ago through the off-world service station. She had 4 fingers, lavender skin, and wide glowing eyes that looked like small moons. Her expression was intense, focused. She wasn't saying anything. She just sat there, one knee on either side of him, her hands pressed lightly on his shoulders. James's heart jumped. "What the hell are you doing?" he whispered, still half asleep, but now fully panicked. She blinked slowly and said one word. A word he didn't understand. Her voice was soft, melodic, but serious, almost like a warning. He tried to sit up, but she didn't move. Instead, she pressed her forehead down, almost touching his, and whispered again, this time in broken English, "Stay still. Dangerous." James didn't move. His mind raced. Had someone broken into his room? Was she protecting him, or was she the danger? She leaned back slowly, her body still close, and pointed one hand toward the corner of the room. James followed her finger, expecting to see a weapon or a person, but there was nothing. "I heard steps," she said slowly. "Someone. At your door, I block. I must shield you. My rule, my duty." He stared at her. Her chest rose and fell as she breathed fast, clearly shaken. Her skin shimmered softly under the morning light, and James realized she wasn't attacking him. She was guarding him. "But you're a housekeeper," he said, confused. "You clean floors, cook, wash dishes. Why? Why would you shield me?" She looked at him, and for a moment her glowing eyes softened. "You hire me," she said. "I am under bond. When danger come, I must protect. It is tradition of my kind." He slowly pushed himself up, and she allowed it this time. She moved off of him, but stayed close. James sat at the edge of the bed, head spinning. "Your kind? Really does that?" he asked. "You throw yourself on your employer to protect them?" She nodded slowly. "Only if the employer is marked." "Marked?" James echoed, turning to look at her. She reached out and touched his chest, where his shirt was slightly open. "When you gave me your drink, first day, I accepted. That is mark. I serve you fully." James remembered. He had handed her a bottle of mineral water during check-in, thinking she looked tired. He thought nothing of it, just being polite. But to her people, it was something more. "You're telling me that a bottle of water made this some kind of sacred bond?" Her expression didn't change. "Yes, you give, I take. You are marked. Now, I protect." James stood up and began pacing the room. "Okay. This is crazy. I need to talk to someone. The service station. They should have explained this." She didn't argue. She just watched him. Calm still, as if waiting for his next order. He stopped, looked at her again. She wasn't dangerous. She wasn't trying to hurt him. She looked like she had done the right thing, at least in her eyes. "What's your name again?" he asked. "Vera." She replied gently. He sat back down, this time slower. "All right, Vera, let's talk about this bond of yours, because I think we've had a major misunderstanding." She tilted her head. "No misunderstanding. You gave, I serve. My life is yours now." James felt a chill down his spine, not from fear, but from the weight of her words. Her tone was calm. but her loyalty was absolute. And somewhere in the back of his mind, a new question began to rise. If this was only the beginning, what else had he just unknowingly agreed to? James sat still on the edge of the bed. His heart had calmed, but his mind was storming. Vera, the alien housekeeper, stood silently near the window, her back straight, her eyes scanning every corner of the room like a trained bodyguard. He wasn't sure what was more surprising, the fact that she pinned him in bed at sunrise, or that she thought she had to. "What do you mean? My life is yours now?" Jaws asked, rubbing his temples. Vera turned slowly to face him. "Because I accepted your first gift." "The water bottle?" She nodded. "It was sacred exchange. In my culture, when someone offers drink freely, it is a life gesture. I am no longer just housekeeper. I become bonded." James laughed once short, nervous. Okay. Maybe there's some cultural confusion here. You don't have to protect me like that." Vera stepped forward. "It is not choice. It is duty. My family name is on the bond now. You are under my care. And now you are also marked." James raised an eyebrow. "Marked? How?" She hesitated. Her fingers trembled. "Your scent. It changed. I touched your skin this morning. The bond activated. I cannot break it. Not without ceremony. Not without witnesses." He blinked. "Wait. So because you tackled me this morning, something triggered?" She looked away. "Yes. Touch during threat confirms the vow. If others find out and think it was false, they will punish both of us." James stood up quickly. "Punish?" Vera stepped closer, her voice low and urgent. "My people are strict, very strict. Bond must be true. Not, it is insult, dishonor. And they come. Fast." James's stomach turned. "Who's they?" As if answering his question, the wall panel blinked red. A chime echoed in the room. Vera's eyes went wide. "They're here," she whispered. "The overseers?" James backed toward the corner. "Already, I didn't even brush my teeth." But Vera was no longer panicked. She knelt, quickly adjusting her posture, smoothing her uniform, and looking completely calm. "What are you doing?" James hissed. "They will question us. I will speak. But if they sense fear or lies, they will take me away. You didn't lie," James said. She looked at him for a long moment. "But you didn't know the bond. They will see that as weakness, or trickery, or insult." Before he could reply, the door slid open. 2 tall aliens entered. Their skin was the same glowing hue as Vera's, but they wore long black coats and glowing armbands. Their faces were stern, emotionless. They didn't speak. They simply stepped inside and looked directly at James. Vera rose and bowed her head. "He is marked," she said softly. "I confirm the bond." One of them walked slowly around James. He felt like a bug under a microscope. "You touched during threat." The first overseer asked in a voice that sounded like static and wind. "Yes." Vera replied, "Voluntary." "Yes, human." The alien turned to James, finally addressing him. He nodded. Yeah, me. Human. Very human. Do you accept the bond?" James opened his mouth, closed it, then looked at Vera. Her eyes silently pleaded. Her lips trembled. She wasn't faking. "Yes," James said slowly. "I accept." There was silence. The overseers turned to each other and exchanged a short phrase in their own tongue. Then, the second one pulled out a small black cube and held it toward Vera. "Sync." Vera stepped forward and placed her palm on the cube. Her body shimmered with a faint pulse of energy. "Human, sync." The alien said, now pointing the cube at James. James hesitated. "If you lie, the overseer said. The device will know. James closed his eyes and placed his hand on it. The cube glowed brightly. A sound like a heartbeat filled the room. Then silence. The cube blinked green. Bond. Confirmed, the overseer said. James breathed again. Vera let out a quiet sigh. The overseers turned and walked out without another word. The door shut behind them. James turned to her. So, what just happened? She smiled for the first time. Now, they believe. You saved me, he laughed. I didn't do anything. Her smile faded. No, you chose me. Even without knowing. James looked at her and finally asked the question he had been avoiding. Vera, who are you really? James didn't sleep that night. He sat on the edge of his bed, watching Vera as she quietly moved around the apartment, rechecking every corner, every lock, every light. She wasn't cleaning, she was guarding. Every now and then she would glance at him, her glowing eyes soft but unreadable. The silence was heavy. Finally, James asked, You said the bond is confirmed now. Does that mean this is over? Vera didn't stop her movements. She shook her head. No, it begins now. That chilled him more than anything the overseers had said. She sat across from him on the floor, her posture upright like a soldier at rest. Now that the bond is confirmed, you must know what it means. In your world, I was your housekeeper. In mine, I am something more. James rubbed his face. I didn't mean to trigger any of this. I didn't mean to give a sacred gesture. You didn't know, she said simply. But now it is done. And I accept. He sighed. But what do you get out of this? What happens to you now? She hesitated, then looked directly at him. I am seen, she whispered. Before the bond, I was nothing, a cast-off. Low blood, unmated, unmarked. Now I have purpose. Your people think I am just a worker. My people now think I am claimed. James frowned. Claimed, like property. No, she said firmly. Like meaning, like someone saw me and chose. James was stunned. In his world, you hired someone to clean, fix, organize. There were paychecks, rules, contracts. But to Vera, offering a bottle of water had meant something sacred. A bond that went beyond the job, beyond the body. And now, the entire system around her saw her differently because of him. He stood and walked toward the small kitchen unit. He poured 2 cups of synth tea and brought one to her. She took it with both hands and bowed her head slightly. You honor me again. It's just tea, James said. She looked up, to you. He sat back down. So what happens next? Is this bond forever? She stared into her cup. As broken by ritual. Yes. James chuckled nervously. And how do we break it? She looked at him, this time with something sad in her eyes. To break the bond, I must be rejected in front of witnesses, shamed, declared unworthy. If that happens, I lose status forever. I become Castles's. No one will hire me again. No one will bond me again. James felt like the air had left the room. That's why you begged me to play along when the overseers came. She nodded. You saved me from that fate. He looked away, heart heavy. I didn't want this, but I never wanted to hurt. You either? There was a long silence. Then she said something he didn't expect. You are not what I thought. James blinked. What does that mean? I thought humans were soft, weak, loud. But you chose to lie for me, risk for me, even when confused. James gave a small shrug. I guess I just didn't want to see you dragged off. Vera smiled slightly. In my world, that makes you worthy. He raised an eyebrow. Worthy of what? She didn't answer. Instead, She reached into the pouch on her belt and pulled out a small, smooth crystal. It shimmered faintly in the low light. She placed it in his palm. "What's this?" he asked. "A bond token. It marks the connection." He stared at the glowing object, feeling its strange warmth. "I don't know what I'm doing," he admitted. "I do," she replied. "A tea. And that is enough for now." James looked at her. Really looked at her. This wasn't a housekeeper. This was someone who had grown up with a culture full of expectations, rituals, and honor systems he didn't understand. And by accident, fate he had stepped right into. But something in her eyes told him it wasn't all about rules. It was about survival, about dignity, about being seen. And for the first time, James didn't feel like a stranger in his own room anymore. He felt connected. 3 days had passed since the overseers confirmed the bond. Life inside the small off-world apartment was quiet, but it wasn't peaceful. James noticed changes. Vera no longer walked like a silent worker. She moved with purpose now, standing tall, eyes alert, back always straight, like she was guarding royalty. She cleaned less and watched more. Her tone changed to still gentle. But with strength behind each word, James was beginning to realize that her idea of being his had nothing to do with servitude. It was protection, devotion, even pride, but that peace shattered the moment. The door chimed again. James was drinking from a steaming cup of synth coffee when the red alert blinked across the wall console. Unknown visitors request entry. Identities not registered. He turned to Vera. "You expecting someone?" She was already on her feet. "No," she said tightly. "That's not Overseer's protocol." The door buzzed again longer this time. Then a loud voice shouted in Vera's native language. Her face went pale. James stood slowly. "What did they say?" "They're not officials," she whispered. "They're family." Before James could reply, the door slid open. 3 tall aliens stepped inside, uninvited. They wore ceremonial robes lined with silver threads, and all had the same lavender skin and luminous eyes as Vera, but their faces were harder, their gazes sharp. One was older, maybe a parent, the other 2 younger. Siblings, Vera Tell of Clan Nokara. The elder boomed. "You bring shame and secrets. You break the order. And we come to see for ourselves." Vera lowered her head, but didn't. "Kneel?" "I followed the ritual. The overseers confirmed it." One of the younger males stepped forward, eyes locked on James. "This is the human. He's plain. Weak. Why him?" James raised a brow. "Well, hello to you too." The elder ignored James. "We had a match arranged for you on Tovernine, a strong bonding, an alliance. But instead, you throw yourself on a human's floor." Vera straightened. "He didn't ask for it. I did it. I felt danger. I followed code. I accepted his offering. It was water." James interrupted, waving a hand. "Bottle of water, not a proposal." They all looked at him like he had insulted their gods. The younger alien male stepped closer too. "Vera, you've ruined the bloodline bond. If this is false, you know the punishment." James moved between them. "Okay, that's enough. She didn't ruin anything. You act like she betrayed your family when she was just doing her job." The older alien finally addressed him. "You, human, do you even know what you hold?" James looked to Vera, then back. "No, but I know she's more than just your family's pawn." There was silence. Then the elder spoke again. "There is one way to silence our clan's doubt. Prove your claim publicly." Vera's breath caught. "What do they mean?" James asked. She didn't answer, so the elder did. "The ancient way. Public recognition. In front of witnesses. A bond right." James blinked. "A ceremony?" "Yes." The elder nodded. or she returns with us, unbonded, in disgrace. Vera's hands trembled. The younger male smirked. He won't do it. He's a human. They always run when it matters. James looked at Vera again. He remembered the fear in her eyes when the overseers came. The pride she showed after the bond was confirmed, and the small smile she gave when he poured her tea. Like it meant something. He didn't know their customs, but he knew her. "Tell me what to do," James said softly. Vera's eyes filled with light. "You mean it?" she asked. "I mean it," he said. "Let's shut them up. Your way." The hall was colder than James expected. Not because of the temperature, but because of the way everyone looked at him. Alien eyes, dozens of them, all glowing, all watching. The chamber was round, carved into black stone that pulsed with faint purple veins. Soft lights hovered in the air, circling slowly like quiet stars. In the center stood a raised platform of smooth crystal. That was where James and Vera now stood alone and exposed. "This is the place," he whispered. Vera nodded. She stood beside him, calm but tense. Her robe was deep blue now, trimmed in silver. She looked like someone important. "You don't have to do this," she said softly. "You can still walk away. Just say the bond was a mistake. They'll punish me, but you'll be safe." James shook his head. "You think I'm leaving you here after everything?" She said nothing, but her hands tightened slightly at her sides. A booming voice echoed through the hall. "Begin the trial." James turned to see the same overseers from before, now seated in tall stone thrones. But around them were more aliens, elders, warriors, and high caste members. Watching, judging. Vir stepped forward. "We present the confirmed bond," she said clearly. "I am Viratel of Clan Nokara. He is James of Earth." A murmur went through the crowd. The lead overseer stood. "Human James. This trial is simple. Place your hand on the memory stone. If your bond is real, the stone will glow. It will show your truth and hers. If false, it will shatter." James frowned. "What happens if it shatters?" The overseer stared at him. "Pain, shame, and exile." James gulped. "Great." The platform lit up. A large, oval-shaped stone rose from the floor between them. It shimmered like glass, but felt alive, almost breathing. Vera stepped forward first. She placed her palm flat on the stone. It lit faintly with soft blue light. Then all eyes turned to James. He looked at Vera once more. She wasn't scared anymore. She was ready. He placed his hand on the other side of the stone. Nothing happened at first. Then light, blinding, bright, it pulsed through the chamber, rushing outward like a wave. The stone glowed white, then shifted to purple, then blue, and then images began to form in the air. Not videos, memories. James saw flashes of his first meeting with Vera, her quiet posture, the way she bowed too deeply, how she held the water bottle like it was gold. Then came Vera's memories, a crowded alien city, a younger Vera standing alone in the rain, voices yelling, hands pointing, her cast out, unwanted, weak. Another memory, Vera, watching James from a distance, her heart beating fast when he smiled at her for no reason, her hope when he offered her water, the warmth she felt for the first time in years. The audience was silent. Then came the final memory, James standing between her and her angry kin, saying she didn't ruin anything. That moment shimmered in the air, then dissolved. The stone began to hum. Then it glowed bright gold. The overseers stood at once. "The bond is true." Gasps filled the chamber. Some in the audience looked stunned, others angry, a few even respectful. The elder from Vera's family stepped forward. His eyes narrowed. He's just a human. The overseer raised a hand. He is her chosen. The elder hesitated, then turned and left without another word. Vera stepped beside James again. Her voice was calm. Her eyes burned bright. You. Passed, she whispered. James looked at the crowd dispersing. I didn't pass anything. I just remembered you. She tilted her head. That is what the bond truly is. Back inside their apartment, hours later, James sat quietly while Vera returned to her duties. But something had changed. There was no longer silence between them. Only calm. Only truth. He glanced at her. So, what happens now? Vera looked. Up from the table, where she had placed a fresh teacup in front of him. Now, I stay. If you let me. James smiled slowly. You're not just staying, you're home. That night, the apartment was quiet again, but this silence felt different. Not cold, not uncomfortable, just full, like something invisible had taken root between them and was now gently breathing. James sat by the small window, looking out at the stars above the colony dome. Ships blinked in the distance, moving between outposts, carrying people, stories, lives. He had always felt alone watching them. Not tonight. Behind him, Vera was folding the ceremonial robe she'd worn at the trial. Every move was slow, careful, like it mattered. You're different now, James said without turning. Vera paused. Different? How? You stand straighter. You talk more. You smile. She walked over and sat across from him at the table. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she said softly, I thought bonding with a human would be shameful. James raised an eyebrow. Thanks. She gave a tiny laugh. I mean, I was told your kind doesn't understand loyalty the way we do. That you would break the bond quickly. I'd be discarded. James nodded. And now? She looked at him directly. Now, I think humans understand more than we ever believed. He leaned forward slightly. Because I stood up for you. No, she said gently. Because when you didn't understand, you still chose me. James fell silent. It was strange. He had never been the kind of guy who chased after connection. Life had been simple, quiet, empty. But now, it's a girl from a completely different world. Once came to clean his apartment, had made him feel something he couldn't name. Something real? Can I ask you something? He said. Yes. That first day, when I gave you the water bottle, why did you accept it? If it meant such a big thing for your people, why take the risk? She didn't answer right away. Then she said, because I wanted someone to see me. Her voice was small, honest. James swallowed. I saw you. She looked up. Her glowing eyes shimmered. I know. He stood slowly and walked to the window again. Back on Earth, bonding is just a word. Something in marriage contracts, something people say but don't always mean. And here, she asked. He turned to her. Here, it feels real. She stepped forward now too. You could have walked away many times, you never did. You gave me something too, he said. She tilted her head. What? Meaning? You made this empty place feel like home. She stood right in front of him now. Close. Quiet. Then let me stay, she whispered. Not because of rules, not because of duty, but because you want me here. James searched her eyes. And if I say yes? She took his hand gently and placed it over the small glowing stone they'd kept from the trial. The bond token. It will pulse, she said, if the heart agrees. Not tradition. Not culture. Just truth. He looked down at the stone. It was dark, then dash warmth. A soft golden glow pulsed beneath his palm. Like a heartbeat. And Vera smiled. Not the polite smile she'd worn on her first day. Not the nervous smile after the overseers left. This one was different. It was real. James looked up. "You're not just a housekeeper." She nodded. "And you're not just a human." He stepped closer. "Then what are we now?" Vera took his hand again. "Something new." 2 weeks later, James got a message. "Transfer approved. Housekeeper contract voided. Reassignment available. Upon request." The words glowed on the wall. Console. He stared at them for a long time. It was an automated message from the service station. The bond ritual had been accepted by alien authorities, but Earth's human systems still ran on contracts and paperwork. To them, Vera was still just an employee one who could be reassigned at any time. James didn't touch the screen. Instead, he looked across the room. Vera was sitting on the floor near the plants. She'd brought in last week's strange blue-leafed things that shimmered in low light. She was humming quietly, folding laundry with calm hands, her eyes peaceful. She wasn't wearing the worker's uniform anymore. Instead, she wore a loose silver robe James had gifted her, stitched with the same pattern as the bond token. He walked over, the message still buzzing in his mind. "You're free to go, you know?" he said quietly. Vera looked up, puzzled. "Go where?" "They cleared the contract," he replied. "No more ties, no more rules. You could leave, take a better job, return to your people, even travel off-world." She stood and walked closer. "Do you want me to leave?" He shook his head. "No, but I don't want you to stay because of a ritual, or because you feel like you owe me. I want you to choose." Vera smiled slowly. "I already chose. The day I accepted your water. That was a mistake. Was it?" She stepped even closer now. Eyes glowed softly, not with power or alien light, but with something warm. "I was just a number in the system before," she said. "No one knew my name. No one asked how I felt, but you. You looked at me, not as a worker, not as a burden, just as a person." James nodded. "I didn't know what it would mean to you, but you meant it," she said. "And that's what matters." He looked down at the bond token still resting on the table. It shimmered faintly in response to their closeness, like it was listening. Vera picked it up and held it between them. "This bond was created by accident," she said. "But what we do with it now, that's our choice." James smiled. "Then let's build something with it." Her expression softened, glowing with something gentle and sure. "I want that. Not because of duty, because of you." Outside, the stars moved slowly behind the dome glass. The colony was still quiet. Ships came and went. People passed through. But inside that apartment, 2 souls, 1 human. One alien had found something unexpected. Not a contract, not tradition, but connection. She walked to the window, arms crossed behind her. "You know, back on my homeworld, bonded pairs carve their names into a tree." James chuckled. "We used to do something like that too." Vera turned and smiled. "Then maybe we're not so different." He stepped beside her. "Maybe we're exactly the same where it matters." They stood together, side by side, watching the sky. And for the first time in both their lives, they felt truly seen. Not by laws, not by clans, not by systems, but by each other.